Hello. This is Numbers Bible Study Part 3. This will be the final part, a little bit more lengthier because there's 16 chapters to go through, but we'll go through them as quickly as possible. I'm not going to explain certain things in it because I have in this a couple messianic prophecies that I did in another series. But Numbers 21 is where we left off, and it is where it can be broken down to Arad destroyed the bronze snake and the journey to Moab, and a defeat of Shion and Og. So at this time, King Arad, a Canaanite who lived in Negeba, he heard Israel was on their way, so he fought them and took some captive. It doesn't really go real deep on this, but Israel vowed a vow to the Lord, and he heard them and destroyed the city. So they called this place Hormah, or destruction is what it means. So after this, they set out towards the Red Sea and go around the land of Edom, because you remember what happened earlier. Here the people are mad again and wish that they was in Egypt. They keep on doing this. So the Lord reminds them and sends a fiery serpent among them. They bite them and many died. They go to Moses and say, they have sinned against the Lord and you. Pray for us. Moses does the same thing he always does. He prays to the Lord and tells him to make a fiery serpent, set it on a pole also. And everyone who was bitten, when he sees it, shall live. There's a prophecy to that I told in the last one. So Moses makes a bronze serpent and sets it on a pole. If they got bit, he would look at the bronze serpent and live, basically. That was up on the pole. From here, they set out from place to place, numerous places. It says through there, there's at least 4, 5, 6, 7 places they travel through. Then it says in the book of wars of the Lord, it's a little book that he had composed in there. It's basically a song or a poem in verse 15, Numbers 21, verse 15. Then the Lord tells Moses, gather the people so I can give them water. The people sung another song. In this song, they acknowledged that the Lord as prince. I know they say princes, but they could have looked at the patriarchs as princes back then also, if you think about it. So then they go from land to land again, traveling back and forth, and ask to pass through another town this time. This time it is King Shion of the Amorites. He fights them and loses, and Israel takes a bunch of the land. Here they sing another song. So here Israel starts to fight. They come to the king Og of Bashan, and the Lord tells Moses, do not fear. They will be defeated. They eliminate all them and took their land also. Crazy chapter there. So then we get to Numbers 22. Numbers 22 is where Balak summons Balaam, and Balaam's donkey is two parts of this chapter. The Israelites are camping along the Jordan across from Jericho. Balak saw the Israelites and was scared because he's seen what they did to the Amorites, so he calls for a man by the name of Balaam. See, he says, I know this man can cause a curse on them. Balaam believed in all gods, not just one. So that night, Balaam talks to God. And God basically tells him, do not curse them. He tells them that the Lord has refused me to go with you. So the next day, he was confronted again. And this time, God told him that night, go with them, but only do what I say. So the next day, Balaam saddled up his donkey and went on his way. Then an angel of the Lord stood in front of the road. The donkey could see the angel with the sword drawn and fell off the road. Balaam, of course, could not see it. Then he started to beat it. He started to beat this donkey repeatedly till she got on the road. Then the angel moved further up and got to a place where the donkey could not flee. So when the donkey seen the angel again, it laid down this time. Balaam beat it again. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth and talked to him, asking, why do you beat me? Then Balaam says, if I had a sword, I should kill you. Donkey says, have I not been your ride day in and day out? Have I ever had a habit of doing this before? Balaam said no to the donkey. He's talking to a donkey at this point. So next, the Lord opens his eyes and he sees that there was an angel standing in front of the road, and he falls face first. Now he realizes why the donkey wasn't going any further. The Lord tells him that if that donkey would have turned, he would have died and God would have spared the donkey, but not you. So he admits his sin. So Balak then meets them in the outskirts of the town and later takes Balaam to Bamoth Baal. So two things before we move on. Baal is a Canaanite god, and he was a god of fertility. That's why they sacrificed children to him. The Bamoth Baal, through this, is a high place where they worship Baal, a place that they could see all the land and could see all the Israelites laying out. This is where he's getting ready to talk to him, why it seems a problem, because they're numerous and lots. So then we get to Numbers 23. This is Balaam's first oracle, Balaam's second oracle, and Balaam's third oracle. So then Balaam tells them to build 7 altars and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me. Balak did it, and they sacrificed a bull and a ram on each altar. So Balaam tells Balak to stay here and let me see if the Lord will talk to me. He went off and God talked to him. He put a message in his mouth to tell Balak. After he tells him this message, it's one of the oracles, Balak says, I told you to curse them, not bless them. Balaam says, must I not speak what the Lord puts in my mouth? So Balak takes Balaam to another place where they can see only part of them, not all of the Israelites. He says, can you curse them from here? Here they built 7 altars and offered a bull and a ram on each altar, just like last time. So once again, they repeated these steps. He goes off to talk to the Lord. He puts another message into Balaam's mouth. So this message was different this time. He tells them that there is no fault in them. Jacob and Israel shall have no curse. Jacob became the nation of Israel. Balak tells him, neither curse them nor bless them. Balaam says, did I not tell you I must do whatever the Lord says? So Balak persists, come, let me take you to another place to see them again this time. So again, they build 7 more altars and do the same thing, offer a bull and a ram in each one. Then it finishes this oracle in the next chapter. See, the writer knew how to leave the suspense on. He didn't finish this oracle. It makes you continue on to Numbers 24, where Balaam's third oracle is continued, and then Balaam has a fourth, and Balaam has a final 5th oracle. So in Numbers 24, Balaam saw that all this pleased the Lord. He didn't resort to any sorcery and turned his face to the desert. Israel was camped tribe by tribe. They were separated. You remember how Moses had them separate tribe by tribe, 12 tribes. Then the Spirit of God came down and gave him an oracle. The oracle is a long one. At the end of it, it says, may those who bless you be blessed, and those who curse you be cursed. Balak burned, like his anger burned for Balaam at this point. He said, I summoned you to curse them, not bless them. Now leave and go home. I would reward you, but the Lord has. Balaam said to him, did I not tell the messenger you sent me? He tells him again, I must say what the Lord says. He says, I'll leave, but let me tell you what these people will do in the days to come. The next one is kind of a messianic prophecy. I will have in another series, like I had just said, I had gave that to you. It talks of the star will come out of Jacob, a ruler. He then tells his last oracle and tells them that they will be defeated, and then goes on his way home. So I had already gave that messianic prophecy that the star of Judah, or the star of David. So Numbers 25, not a real big chapter. You can call it Moab seduces Israel. This chapter is small. Israel was camping in a town called Shittim. I know it sounds kind of funny, but it's actually how you pronounce it. It is spelled Shittim. The men did sexual immoral things with the Moabite women here. They started to worship their gods and ate and bowed before them. The Lord was mad at them. They started to worship Baal. The Lord tells Moses they must be put to death before everyone in the broad daylight. Moses tells them anyone who has worshipped Baal is to be put to death. At this time, an Israel man brought his family a Midianite woman right in front of them. Phinehas, son of Eleazar, Aaron's son, the priest, followed this man and threw a spear at him and the woman, and the plague stopped. 24,000 people died from this plague because the Lord put a plague upon them. He was mad. They didn't know where it was coming from, and it was because this man was bringing a Midianite woman doing ungodly things amongst them, and 24,000 people died from it, from the plague. Because of his zeal, the Lord made a covenant with him. He atoned the Israelites' sins. The Lord tells Moses that the Midianites are his enemies. Kill them. The Midianite women they killed was the leader's daughter, might add, Cozbi. So, crazy. We get to Numbers 26. Well, like I said, Numbers 26 is where we left off here. So Numbers 26 is a little bit of a longer chapter. It's the second census. After the plague, the Lord said to Moses and Eleazar, take a second census. So they tell the Israelites that we are going to take a second census of all the men that are 20 and over to serve in the army. Descendants of Reuben were numbered 43,730 in the beginning of the book of Numbers. It told us the numbers of people. Then it goes to say that the sons of these people, and then some of them, was with Korath when God swallowed them up in the earth and devoured them with fire. But his bloodline didn't die off. The descendants of Simon, they numbered 22,200. The descendants of Gad were 40,500. Ir and Onan were the sons of Judah, but they died in Canaan. The descendants of Judah numbered 76,500. Then Issachar's numbered 64,300. Zebulun's numbered 60,500. Joseph's descendants of Manasseh and Ephraim tribe of Manasseh numbered 52,700. Zephalad, sorry, that's kind of a hard name, son of Hefer in the tribe of Manasseh, had only daughters. We'll get to that later on. The descendants of Ephraim numbered 32,500. The descendants of Benjamin were 45,600. The descendants of Dan were 64,400. Asher's numbered 53,400. Naphtali numbered 45,400. The total number was 601,730. At the start of the book, they numbered 603,550. Now they numbered 601,730. Between the deaths and new births and people turning old enough to be counted for, the difference in this number from the beginning of the book was 1,820 people. So then the Lord tells Moses, allot the land to them, larger inheritance for larger groups and smaller for smaller groups, why they needed a census so they can tell. Then the Levites were counted. Now remember, out of this clan, Moses, Aaron, and his sister Miriam were born of this clan line. 23,000 they numbered. So not one of them could be counted, might add, was counted by Moses and Aaron in the desert of Sinai. The only ones left were Caleb and Joshua by this point, because a lot of, remember, they had not listened to the Lord, and he killed a lot of them off. So Numbers 27 is where we get to Zelophehad's daughters and Joshua to succeed Moses. So Zelophehad was part of Manasseh's son of Joseph. His daughters' names were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Michaela, and Tizarah. So the 5 daughters he had stood at the tent of the meeting and stood before Moses and Eleazar, all the leaders in the assembly. And the daughters said, our father died in the desert. He was among Korah's followers, the ones who banded against the Lord, but died for his own sins. Since he had no sons, why should our father's name be erased? Because he has no sons. Give us his property. So Moses then takes us to the Lord, and the Lord tells him they are right. You should give the inheritance over to them. Say to the Israelites, if a man dies and leaves no sons, then the daughters get it. If there's no daughters, then his brother gets it, or his brothers. If there's no brothers in this case, give it to the father's brothers. If the father had no brothers, then the nearest relative in his clan. So basically, nobody was getting inheritance if they didn't have any of this, and now the Lord's saying they should. Next, it talks about Joshua taking over for Moses. Moses and the Lord have a conversation, and the Lord tells him to go up on this mountain and see the land. After you see it, you will gather the people like you did for Aaron. You will not enter the land, he was telling him, for the water and the rock, for the incident back then. Moses said, give these people a shepherd to lead them. Then please, Lord said, take Joshua. Since Moses wanted him to have somebody succeed, the Lord said, take Joshua. Lay your hands on him, take him to Eleazar. At this man's command, they will go and come into the new land. Moses did all as the Lord had said, like he always did. Then it gets you to Numbers 28, almost done with this. It's called daily offerings, Sabbath offerings, monthly offerings, the Passover, and the Feast of the Weeks. The Lord tells Moses, give this command to the people. See that you present to me an appointed time, the food as a offering made by fire, a aroma pleasing to the Lord, like always. Tell them that 2 lambs a year old, no defect, to be burnt as an burnt offering each day, one at day and the other at twilight, together with the grain offerings. This is the regular burnt offering instituted at Mount Sinai. Don't forget the drink offering with it. Fermented drink, pour it out at the sanctuary. Next is the Sabbath offering. In addition with the regular offerings that I had talked before, every Sabbath 2 lambs, year old, no defects, with grain and drink offering also. Every Sabbath you must do this. Next it speaks of the monthly offerings. The first of every month present the Lord a burnt offering of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lamb, 1 ram and 7 male lambs, 1 year old, all with no defects. With each bull offer is to be a grain offering of 3/10 of ephah of flour mixed with oil. Same with the rams, but 2/10 of flour. Same with the lambs, but 1/10 of flour. With each bull 2 quarts of wine. Same with each ram, but 1 1.25 quart of wine, and the lambs are to only be 1 quart of wine. This is the monthly offerings made at each new moon during the year. Then next is the Passover. On the 14th day of the first month, the Passover is to be held. The 15th day of this month, there is to be a festival. 7 days eat bread with no yeast, like it spoke of in the further books before this. On the first day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. Talks of all offerings, 2 bulls, 7 male lambs, no defects, a goat for sin offerings. Then is the Feast of Weeks. It says on the day of the first fruit, when you offer new grain during the Feast of Weeks, do no regular work. Burnt offering of two bulls, a ram, and 7 male lambs. All the offerings just like the other ones. So we left off on Numbers 29, which is the Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacles. On the first day of the 7th month, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work to be had, and sound the trumpets. Do all your normal daily and monthly offerings still, never forget to do those, but also do this offering at the same time you do the Feast of Trumpets. 1 bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs, 1 year old with no defect. Then on the 10th day of the 7th month, hold another sacred assembly. You must fast and do no work. Same things to offer as the Feast of Trumpets on the Day of Atonement, but 1 goat for sin offering and all your daily ones, and etc. Then we get to the Feast of the Tabernacle. On the 15th day of the 7th month, celebrate this for 7 straight days. Present an offering, a burnt offering, of 13 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, 1 year old, no defect. Tells of how to prepare all these things. A sin offering is to go with it also. On the 2nd day, prepare 12 bulls, the 2 rams and 14 lambs. The third day, prepare 11 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs. The fourth day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs. The fifth day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs. On the sixth day, you do 8 bulls and 2 rams and 14 lambs. On the seventh day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs. On the eighth day, hold a assembly and do no work. Always do a sin offering after all of these. During the assembly, offer a bull, a ram, and 7 male lambs 1 year old. Moses tells the Israelites, and they listen to the Lord's commands. I'm not going to explain every offering by this point because you should get it by now from Leviticus up till now of all these offerings. They're pretty repetitive, and I think there's a reason why they keep telling us them. They keep them pretty repetitive in our minds so we can remember. Numbers 30 is a pretty small chapter. It is vows. It's all about vows. Moses tells the heads of the tribes of Israel that if you make a vow to the Lord or obligate yourself by a pledge, then you must not break your word. If a young woman, it says, makes a vow and a father of the home doesn't say anything, then what she pledged in vow stands. But if he does, then the Lord will release her because the father has forbidden her. If she marries and makes a vow, or after her lips utter a promise, and if her father or if her husband doesn't say anything, it stands. Any vow made by a widow or a divorced woman binds to her. If the wife makes a pledge and the husband doesn't say anything, then it stands. If he doesn't, then the Lord releases her. If he doesn't say anything, or if he does say something, then the Lord releases her. Her husband can confirm or nullify any vow that she makes or sworn pledge to deny herself. If the husband says nothing day by day, then he confirms all her vows and pledges binding on her. It's pretty weird, this chapter. If he does nullify sometime later after knowing about the vows, then he takes her guilt upon himself. These are the regulations concerning relationships between a man and his wife and between the father and the young daughter still living at home. Pretty strict rules. Numbers 31 is a little of a bigger chapter as we're wrapping up on Numbers here and finishing it. It is vengeance on the Midianites and dividing the spoils. So the Lord tells Moses, take vengeance on the Midianites for Israel, or for the Israelites. After that, you will be gathered to your people. Moses tells them to gather 1,000 men from each of the 12 tribes to go to war, so that's 12,000 in all. Phinehas, the priest, Aaron's grandson, went with the trumpets and articles from the sanctuary. As they fought them, they defeated them and killed all 5 kings, and Balaam also that we talked of earlier, that talked with the Lord. They captured women and children and all the animals, and all the spoils of war they took, and brought to Moses and Eleazar. Moses was mad at them. Have you allowed all the women to live? Now kill all the boys and all the women who have slept with a man. But all who have not done this, if you kill or touch any of them, stay outside the camp for 7 days. On the 3rd and 7th day, purify yourselves and your captives, just like you had to do in Leviticus that they talked about. Eleazar tells the men that this is the law of the Lord. All gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, lead, and anything that can withstand a fire must then go into the fire so it is clean. This is how they cleaned all that, so it didn't burn away. It burned off the sin, I guess you could say. Next, they divided the spoils. The Lord told Moses, you and Eleazar and the heads of the family are to count up all the people and the animals and divide it between the soldiers and the community. From the soldiers, set apart one of every 500 for tribute to the Lord, whether person, cattle, donkey, sheep, or goat. Take it to Eleazar. So from the Israelites' part, select 1 out of every 50, whether person, donkey, cattle, etc. Give them to the Levites, who are responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle. So out of this was left 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, 32,000 women who were virgins. For the soldiers, they got 337,500 sheep. 675 of those they had to tribute to the Lord. They got 36,000 cattle. 72 of them they had to give to the Lord. They got 30,500 donkeys. 61 of them they had to tribute to the Lord. They got 16,000 women, and 32 of them they gave as tribute to the Lord. Moses gave tribute to Eleazar as Lord's part. So all those basically went to Eleazar. Same for the Israelites. Then the officers brought all that they got from the war and made atonement for themselves. And out of everything they got, it weighed 16,750 shekels, or that is 420 pounds. So then we now are getting to Numbers 32, and you can call this the Transjordan tribes. The Reubenites and the Gadites had large herds and flocks, and they saw that the lands of Jazer and Gilead were suitable for livestock. So they asked Moses and Eleazar about the land and asked if seeing favor in us, can we have the land given to us as servants? Do not make us cross the Jordan. Moses tells them, are your countrymen going to war while you sit here? Why do you discourage the Israelites from going over to the land that the Lord had given them? This is same thing your fathers tried to do to discourage the Israelites, and this made the Lord mad. He gave an oath that because of this, no man 20 or older that came out of Egypt would enter the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No one but Caleb and Joshua. He made them travel for 40 years wandering, and Moses says here, you are brood sinners and making the Lord more angry towards Israel. If you turn away, he will leave his people in the desert, and you will be the cause. Then they said to Moses, we would like to build pens for the animals and cities for the women and children. But we are ready to go ahead of Israel until we get them to the promised land. Meanwhile, our women and children will be safe. We will not return home until every one of the Israelites get the land that is promised. We will not receive any inheritance from them because our inheritance is on the other side of the Jordan. Moses tells them, if they do this, they are free to return home, and this land will be yours. But if you failed and you have sinned against the Lord, build your pens and cities for your families, but do as you promised to the Lord. They say, we will. Then Moses tells them, if they cross and do as they are told, they will inherit this land. But if they fail, they get the possession with you. They said, we will. Once again, ensuring them, we will. Moses then gave them the land. They built their lands for their family. Then they went off to go capture the lands and drove out the inhabitants. So it was a pretty noble thing they wanted to do, you know. He thought maybe they were trying to fall back again, but what they all utterly want to do is make sure the women and children had a normal life while they're off doing this, what it seems like, which is pretty awesome of them. So the Numbers 33 is a pretty small chapter. It is the stages in Israel's journey. So this chapter talks about the stages they went through with Moses and Aaron. They set out from Ramaz on the 15th day of the first month, a day after Passover. At this time, the Egyptians were burying their firstborns from the plagues that the Israelites that happened, and the Israelites were marching out boldly. So take that visual image, you know, after the plagues had happened in Exodus, they're burying all their firstborns as the Israelites are just marching out to the desert to go do the sacrifice for the Lord that they were being called to do. They left Ramaz and went into Succoth, or Succoth, sorry. And they left from there to go to Etam. And it says this was on the end of the desert. So basically, they were on the outskirts of the desert, pretty much. They left the camp to go back to, I think they call it Pi Hathroth, and to east of Baal Ziphon. And they camped near Migdal. So you get the picture. It was one place after another, pretty much. He's just explaining this journey was 40 years. So I imagine they went through a lot. By that time, they got to the border of Edom. The Lord commands to Aaron to go up on the Mount Hor, and he went up there to die. He was 123 years old. Remember, that was at the point when he had known that he was going to die, and they did their ceremony and everything they did for him. At this time, the Canaanite king heard that the Israelites were coming, so they left the mount where Aaron died. By that time, they get to the plains of Moab. The Lord tells Moses, tell them that when they cross the Jordan, drive out all the inhabitants, destroy all carved images and their cast idols, and demolish all their high places. Take the land and settle in. Distribute the land by lot according to your clans. Larger groups get bigger, of course, and the smaller get smaller. This is according to the ancestral tribes. If you don't drive them all out, they will be a barb in your eye and a thorn in your side. Pretty nice little rhyme there. Numbers 34 is a pretty small chapter also. It is the boundaries of Canaan. The Lord tells Moses about when they enter the land. It will be allotted to you, and you will have these boundaries. On the south, some of the desert of Zin along the border of Edom. East, your southern boundary will start from the end of the Salt Sea or the Dead Sea. Cross south the Scorpion Pass, continue to the Zin, and south of the Kadesh Barren. From Hazard Adara and over to Asmon. At the end of the sea, western will be the coast of the Great Sea. North, run a line from there from the Great Sea to the Mount Hor, which is where Aaron was buried. From there, you go from Lebo Hamath and continue to Zedeh and Zipron. And at the end of the Hazron Ena, east, run a line from Hazron Ena to Shepham. From there, go to Rivlam on the east side of Ain and continue along the slopes of the Sea of Kinnereth. Some say this is Galilee, or Galilee, and then end at the Dead Sea. Moses commanded the Israelites assigned this land by lot as inheritance. 9.5 tribes, because the tribe of Reuben and Gad and half of the Manasseh tribe received their inheritance already. The Lord tells Moses who to appoint as leaders from each tribe to help pass out, you could say, their inheritance. Out of the names, give Eleazar and Joshua are included before the tribes are listed. So Joshua is to start here, to start being Moses pretty much. He's about to be his successor. So Numbers 35, 2 chapters left. This is called the town for the Levites, the cities of refuge. The Lord is telling Moses that the Levites are to get some of the land and the pasture land around it for their own towns. It says around the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. The pasture lands is to extend out 1,500 feet from the town walls. Outside the town, measure from all four directions is 3,000 feet, is what the Lord is telling him. Then the Lord is telling Moses that he is to have the Levites get 6 cities for refuge. This is where someone can flee from murder. And in all, they have about 48 total towns. So each tribe gets it according to their size, like he'd said. Then the Lord says, tell the Israelites when you cross the Jordan into Canaan, select some towns to be your cities of refuge also. For this is if someone accidentally kills someone, they may flee. This time it says an accident because this is the Israelites' town. This way, they can hide from the avengers until the trial in front of the assembly happens. 3 towns on the side of the Jordan and 3 on the side of the Canaan. If death happens not on purpose, then the avenger and the accuser go to trial. The priest is to bless the accuser if he goes to the refuge city and protect it till the priest that anointed him dies. This is to protect him from bloodshed, you could say. After the death of the high priest, then he can return to his home. But if he does this before his death and the avenger finds him, then the avenger is allowed to kill him and he's not guilty. That's crazy. And it also speaks of do not take ransoms and do not defile the land. Numbers 36, to complete this 4th book in the Bible, Numbers 36 is the inheritance of Zelophehad's daughters. The head of the families of the descendants of Joseph came to speak to Moses about Zelophehad's daughters and about their inheritance. So they bring up to him about the things that would happen to the inheritance. So the Lord confirms to Moses that what they are saying is correct. As long as they marry within the tribal clans of their fathers, no inheritance is to be passed from tribe to tribe. Each tribe is to keep the land they got for inheritance. So Zelophehad's daughters did as the Lord commanded. So all his daughters married their cousins from the father's side. These were the commands that the Lord gave Moses on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. Not really much to say on that, but I want to thank you guys and God bless you. That is the end of this book. I hope you enjoyed it. I try to give you a fun Bible study in many different ways that I can. A way that corporations of churches make you feel ain't right. They'll tell you these type of Bible studies I'm doing aren't the correct way to study them. But why not have fun with reading the Bible? Have fun with studying it. So it's not such a job filling thing for you. Enjoy what you're doing. So the next book, which I'm already working on, is the book of Deuteronomy. And when we're done with that, we're done with the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. And we'll get into some really nitty gritty stuff. So God bless you guys. Stay strong.